Problem 1, which is the correct prime factorization of 90? First of all, factorization means you're going to multiply numbers together and get 90. So the first thing that I did on this one was just to figure out which ones, when I multiplied them together, would give me 90. 2 times 3 times 5 was 30. 3 times 3 times 10 is 90. 2 times 3 times 3 times 5 is 90. D, 2 times 3 times 5 is 150. And 1 times 2 times 5 times 9 was 90. So first of all, I could go ahead and cross off D and A because they did not equal 90. The next thing that we do need to focus on is the prime factorization. If you recall, if something is prime, the number has two factors, and those factors are 1 and itself. So we just need to look at the choices and see if we can eliminate. If you look at choice B, 10 is not a prime number because it has more than two factors. It has 4 factors. So B is not an option. And then the two that I'm left with are C and E. I have 2 times 3 times 3 times 5, and then 1 times 2 times 5 times 9. And I notice that 9 is definitely not a prime number because it has more than two factors. 3 will go into it other than just 1 and 9. So E does not work either, so C has to be the right choice on that one. Problem 2. The high temperatures across 5 days averaged 87. If the high temperatures on 4 days were 80, 74, 95, and 88, what was the high temperature on the 5th day? So the key word on this one is average, and I know if I'm going to average something, I just add them all up and divide by how many there were, and they told me there were 5 days. So I'm going to take the days, 80 plus 74 plus 95 plus 88 plus the 5th day, which I don't know, so I'm just going to call that X. It's all over 5 because I'm going to divide by 5 since there are 5 days. And I know that they told me the average is going to equal 87. So from this point on, I'm just trying to figure out what would X have to be so that my average is 87. So I'm going to go ahead and add all the things up top. 80 plus 74 plus 95 plus 88 would give me 337 plus X is over 5 is equal to 87. And then from here, I'm actually going to put a 1 underneath the 87 and cross multiply. So I'm going to get 337 plus X is going to equal 435. And then if I subtract 337 from 435, I end up getting 98. And so my choice is choice K. Instead of going through all of this algebra, you definitely could have, if I had this equation set up right here, I could have plugged 3 in and divided by 5 to see if I could get 87. Then I could plug 15 in, divide by 5, see if I could get 87. So that would be another approach that I could take to the problem instead of actually algebraically solving it. Okay, number 3, what is the slope of the line with equation 2y minus 3x equals 4? Okay, if I'm looking for the slope, I'm looking for in the y equals mx plus b. I'm looking for the m. Probably the most common way to solve this problem would just be to solve for y and then to figure out what the m would be. So that's exactly what I'm going to do on this problem. So I'm going to add 3x to both sides. So I now will have 2y equals 3x plus 4. And then from here, I'm going to divide all 3 parts by 2. So I'll get y equals 3 halves x plus 2. And I know the slope is the number that is in front of the x. And so that would be 3 halves. And 3 halves is equivalent to 1.5. So my answer on this one would be choice B. Okay, now number 4. If a retailer's markup on a television set is 25%, what is the cost to the nearest dollar of a television to the retailer who sells the set for $200? All right, so we want to find the cost. So I'm going to use just X for the cost. So the retailer bought the television for X dollars. Okay, they're going to mark the television up 25%. So they're going to add on to that cost 25% of that cost. And then when they're done, they're going to sell the television for $200. So now from here, there's a couple ways that I could work it. I could go ahead and solve this algebraically, or I could just go ahead and start plugging values in. I'm going to go ahead and solve this algebraically. X plus 0.25x would be 1.25x is equal to 200. And then I just simply divide both sides by 1.25. And when I do that, I get $160. So my answer would be choice G. Okay, number 5, which is the graph of the system of equations 2x minus 3y equals 10 and 6x plus 2y equals negative 3? Right, if you look at your paper, you'll notice that you have 5 graphs drawn. You could easily just graph both of these equations and look for which picture matches. I kind of took a different approach because I saw that all 5 answers had different points of intersection. So if I could just find this point of intersection of these two equations, then I'd be set to go. So what I'm going to do is just go ahead. Most people are pretty familiar with solving like this, so that's why I'm going to go ahead and do it this way. All right, so what I'm going to do, if you recall solving by elimination, I'm actually going to, if this one says 2x and this one says 6x, I'm going to multiply this whole top equation by 3 to get them to eliminate. So I'll get 6x minus 9y is equal to 30. And then in order to get these to eliminate, I will have to subtract the two equations. So I'm just going to subtract them all. 6x minus 6x is nothing. 2y minus negative 9y will be 11y. And then negative 3 minus 30 will be negative 33. Okay, so I'll divide both sides by 11, and I get y equals negative 3, which brings me to D, E, and A. So B and C are no longer choices. And then from here, I'm going to actually go back up into the original equation and plug negative 3 in for the y. So I'm going to have 2x. If I plug negative 3 in for the y, negative 3 times negative 3 is a positive 9 is equal to 10. And so then I'll get 2x equals 1. So that means that x will have to equal 1/2. And so D will be my correct choice on that one. And again, if you thought, oh man, that took too long, you could easily just graph these. I'd suggest if you were going to graph them, you'd make them both say y equals, and then you could graph them from there. And if you'd like some more commentary on that, just ask me individually. Right, number 6, if x minus y plus 3 equals 0, then x minus y squared is equal to what? So we pretty much just need to figure out on this problem what x minus y equals. So instead of solving for x or solving for y, we're going to solve for x minus y. So if I want x minus y by itself, we can just subtract 3 from both sides. So I'm going to have that x minus y is equal to negative 3. So that's what x minus y is equal to. So now I just need to know what is x minus y if I square it. So since I know that x minus y is equal to negative 3, if I take negative 3 and I square it, I will get 9. So my answer will be K, which is 9. Problem number 7. The area of triangle ABC is equal to the area of triangle XYZ. What is the length of XZ? So I'm looking for this length right here. I'm going to go ahead first of all and label what they gave me. They told me that AC, this whole length right here, was equal to 12. They told me that XY was equal to 6, and they told me that BD was equal to 4. Okay, so I need to find XZ, and they told me something about the areas being equal. So I noticed that on this triangle right here, I can actually find the area. Area is equal to 1/2 base times height. And I do notice, because this is a right, they give me the right portion here, they give me the height. This is the base right here, and this is the height. So the area of this triangle is going to be 1/2 the base, which is 12, times the height, which is 4. So that has an area of 24, which means triangle XYZ also has an area of 24. So if I write area equals 1/2 base times height again, I know the area is 24. I'm going to have 1/2. The base on this one, because this is a right triangle, the base is going to be 6, and the height is actually going to be XZ, and that's what I'm looking for. So I basically am just going to be solving this for XZ. So I have 24 equals 1/2 times 6 is 3 times XZ. And if I would like to solve for XZ, I will just divide both sides by 3, and I get that XZ is equal to 8. So my answer will be 8. Okay, problem 8. If 2 sandwiches cost $5, how much in dollars do n sandwiches cost? All right, this is a pretty straightforward proportions problem. I know I have 2 sandwiches, and they'll cost $5. So this is the sandwiches, and this is the money. And then equals, how much do n sandwiches cost? Well, sandwiches are on the top, and I have n of them, and I don't know the cost, so I'm just going to put a question mark down there. So I'm basically solving for the question mark. All right, so I'm going to cross multiply. When I do that, I'm going to get 5n is equal to 2 question mark. And again, remember, I would like to know what the question mark equals. So to get the question mark by itself, I'll divide both sides by 2. So my question mark will equal 5n over 2, which is choice K. Number 9, in the circle O, MN and QR pass through the center O. NP is parallel to QR, and the measure of angle POR equals the measurement of angle RON. What is the ratio of the measure of PMO to the measure of angle RON? Okay, so I'm just going to see what I can do here. These two lines, MP and QR, are parallel, which means we will definitely have some properties of parallel lines going on here. And I do notice that MN is a transversal that's cutting through parallel lines, so we have lots of things that we can use to go with that. All right, I'm just going to kind of mark what we're trying to figure out. We want the measure of PMO, which is this one right here, and I want to know what's the ratio of that compared to the angle RON. Okay, so I would like to figure out how those two are related. Okay, without using any other information in the problem, which I could use and go a different way, I notice if you kind of tilt your head sideways a little bit here, if we have two parallel lines cut by transversal, you'll notice that these both are in the same spot. They're corresponding angles, and we know that corresponding angles have equal measures, so the ratio will simply be 1 to 1 because they are exactly the same thing. All right, number 10. If triangle ABC is an isosceles right triangle with base angles A and B, which best describes angles B and C? Well, there's a few things that we need to know. First of all, isosceles means that there are going to be two equal sides. And a right triangle obviously has a right angle. Okay, so if I draw an isosceles right triangle, it's going to look something like this. So these sides are the same. It does tell that we have base angles A and B. So my base angles are going to be A and B, which means this one has to be C. So if that's the picture that I have drawn according to the description that they gave me, it says which best describes angles B and C. Well, first of all, looking at angle C, C has to be right. So if you look at it, there really is only one choice, with C being the right angle. So we are set right there with choice G.